Join me now from New York City, National Chair of the Trump Victory Finance Committee and Senior Advisor to Donald J. Trump for President, Kimberly Guilfoyle. Kimberly, thank you so much for joining me. Kimberly, I'm so confused.
With you.
Thank you. I'm so confused. Biden continues to move forward with the transition, yet the election hasn't been certified. And we played a video clip where he said months ago that he would not move forward with a transition unless the election was certified.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's doublespeak. The rules don't apply to them. But this isn't even a president-elect situation. This is a coronation, essentially, by the Democrats, the left, the mainstream media being complicit in it. The election has not been certified. You're correct. So legally speaking, he can have all the pomp and circumstance and dance parties he wants. He's still not the official elected president of the United States. And so much still remains to be seen. As you said, we are really fighting a robust, vigorous legal challenge across multiple states, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, the list goes on and on. So I think these things really need to, in order to maintain the integrity of the election system and the process and make sure the people's votes are not diluted. You would want like 2-to-1, right? People voting illegally to dilute your vote. It makes no sense. They should be for this. There should be a bipartisan approach to make sure that every legal, valid vote is counted in this country. That's what the people deserve. That's our American system in the Electoral College. It's not been certified in any of these states. There's legal challenges still remaining. And maybe someone might want to care about this. All the votes aren't even in. There's a lot at stake. There's Senate races, all of the above. So we just want to make sure that this is a fair and judicious process. And guess what? The President of the United States has the same rights under the Constitution as each and every one of us. And this is his legal constitutional right to be able to make sure that this is a valid and fair and just election and to maintain the integrity of our election system. So I applaud him. He needs to see it through. He has tremendous support. 71 million people voted for him, and there's more votes out there.
Kimberly, question. You've worked in television news for so many years. What do you make of the media's, handling of this presidential election, especially in regards to declaring former Vice President Joe Biden as the next president of the United States without the election being certified while there's legal challenges, and then also them turning a blind eye to voter fraud? The voter fraud is actually happening. There's several cases of it, several examples of it. And then you hear the election officials say, oh, well, you know what, we might find a few cases here and there, but there's nothing to worry about. Yet the American people were promised that there would not be any sort of voter fraud in this election, and this despite the mandatory mail-in balloting that people were very concerned about, because this was a last-minute change. I mean, there are so many things that could have gone wrong that were predicted that are actually going wrong.
You're absolutely right, and that's why we fought such a rigorous legal challenge, 42 different lawsuits prior to this election, or it would have been even worse and more rampant. Where we succeeded, we're seeing that we don't have the issues, but where we did not, we're seeing problems in so many of these states. And this isn't just speculation or just partisanship. This is actual facts. Legally speaking, an affidavit counts as legal evidence of proof that, in fact, something occurred. And we have those throughout all of these states in multiple different instances, evidencing a double voting where someone has voted in 2 states, people miraculously rising from the dead like Tales of the Crypt to be able to register to vote and then cast their vote. So there's a lot of miracles happening around here. It's just unbelievable. And why wouldn't people care about that? Like, this is the United States of America. We're supposed to be the shiny example to the rest of the world. We talk about corruption in other countries like Venezuela and Cuba, et cetera. Well, make sure that our house is cleaned up. Let's make sure that we maintain the integrity of the voting system. One person, one vote, legal and valid. And that's what it should be in this country. I've never seen anything like it. Why is the mainstream media like this? Well, it's no surprise since we saw the fake news stories before. They can never, ever be honest about President Trump. And they said it from the beginning. Even Nancy Pelosi said, oh, he's leaving office. He just doesn't know it yet. A nice foreshadowing to what has occurred here. So, they knew they couldn't beat him in the ballot box. So the only way to get it done was to try to steal the election. But, not on our watch, not on President Trump's watch. He stands for every American and for every valid and legal vote. And after it's all counted and certified, of course, then we will accept the results of the election. We're not there yet.
Yeah, and you just look at the amount of people who supported President Trump in this election. And of course, fake news polls got it totally wrong. They didn't think that more people would support President Trump in 2020 than they did in
Right.
2016. And that says a lot. So yeah, of course, there's a lot of questions in this election. I think, even before going into Election Day, I said, who supported Trump in 2016 that's not going to support him in 2020? And then the other people
Right.
that were in between saw all of the accomplishments from the Trump administration under his leadership, jobs, economy, national security, the list goes on. So again, I'm glad that the Trump team is pursuing these legal challenges. Do you have a timeline on this? Like, what's the timeline? Because a lot of people are really concerned that we're going to run out of time.
People are concerned. Well, we're not going to run out of time. There is an inauguration on January 20th. It should move pretty expeditiously. The votes are getting wrapped up, and then we have those legal challenges, and then it's a responsibility of each state, to certify the election within their state. So it's going to move, obviously through the holidays, et cetera. But we've got some time, and we just ask the American people to be patient. It's worth it. All those people out there don't want to feel disenfranchised. Whoever the next president is, they need to be able to accept that and that it was a fair and just election. And I think it's in the best interest of everyone to do that. So, media companies, they don't get to decide who's president. They don't get to call an election, okay? They can't just step on the U.S. Constitution and trample on people's voting rights. We're not going to allow that to happen. So as it remains right now, as far as we're concerned, that Donald Trump, won this election, and now we're just gathering the rest of the votes, valid, legal, to be able to prove that.
Yeah, and these same folks in the media are breathlessly reporting on the fact that world leaders are calling Biden to congratulate him. And you see what they're doing. They're trying to legitimize their effort to have Biden as the next president of the United States. But also you have to wonder, why are these leaders so quick to call Biden? Again, election's not certified. And then you think of everything as a whole here. The thing is that they want business as usual. They're excited about this. They would love to have Biden as the president of the United States so that they can continue to take advantage of America. That's why we're seeing these celebrations.
Climate change and this and that. Oh, let's talk about it. Boris Johnson. Listen, it doesn't matter. I just brush it off because we're going to wait for the real valid results. They have no credibility the way that they have all behaved, calling, states early, all of the above. I mean, it was so obvious and flagrant that everybody was in the bag, for Joe Biden. It was just astonishing to watch that, dance off that they had for him, saying, oh, look, he's the president-elect. We all knew they were going to do that. They called the states before everything was in. They finally were able to call North Carolina, which, President Trump was way ahead in. They waited forever to call Florida. And, no one wants to see or talk about anything about the voting irregularities, the anomalies that we're seeing in these voting machines and the software data. Well, we're getting the proof, the evidence, the affidavits, and then we'll make our case to the American people and to the courts and let the real votes decide, the valid votes decide who the next president of the United States is. What are they so afraid of? Why won't they let us in the room and to watch? Why are they shutting down polling places, saying that a water main broke, kicked everybody out, said they were stopping counting, and continued to count for 2.5 hours in the state of Georgia, while one camera caught them from Fox 5 and was afraid to come forward and say it? I don't think so. We're not having somebody steal an election in the middle of the night. It's totally un-American.
Yeah, and you see a lot of the Republicans sitting on the sidelines here. They're kind of quiet, don't hear anything from them. But do they not realize what's at stake here? Republicans will never win an election again if they don't stand up for President Trump. You think of everything that President Trump has done for the Republican Party over the past 4 years, and they sit there in silence. Now, of course, there have been some Republicans like Senator Lindsey Graham who have been out there, Blackburn, they're all sticking their necks out for President Trump. But the ones who are silent, what would you say to them?
I say to them, you're cowards. You're cowards, and you're disrespectful to the American people. You're disrespectful to a great American president that helped you get elected. And but for President Trump, a majority of them would not be elected and in the positions and in the seats. And they're supposed to serve the people, and they're supposed to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And they're supposed to stand for one person, one vote, valid and legal. That's the rules. So stop being such cowards and hiding in the shadows, because 71 million people are watching and paying attention. And good luck to you in the future with the way you behaved.
Yeah, and we have to look at Georgia and what's going on with the Senate seats and how critical that is for the direction of our country as well, because if the Democrats take control of the Senate, it will be a free-for-all, and they will fundamentally transform America into something that we would never recognize.
It's unbelievably important, and that's why Georgia really matters as well, to make sure that we kick out any of the invalid, illegal voters, deceased people, felons, illegals that were voting that shouldn't be, because it has to be a pure process. 2 seats on the line, but I'm proud to say that Kelly Loeffler and Perdue are actually very supportive and standing out in front to back the president and back this fair and judicious process. So they're going to get a lot of support from people. We're certainly supporting them. We applaud their leadership and their courage in doing the right thing. Most things in life, Stephanie, make sense. It's like, what's the right thing to do? What's the wrong thing to do?
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, Kimberly, we're going to leave it here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.